You know, some teams, they win trophies, but other teams, they define an entire era. Deep in the heart of English football history, there's a team that somehow managed to do both, becoming absolute legends just as the game itself was about to change forever. Today, we're diving into the incredible story of the 1992 Leeds United side, the last ever champions of the old First Division. And right at the center of it all, it was one man. A visionary who was so far ahead of his time that, even today, his own players talk about him with a sense of complete and utter awe. That man was Howard Wilkinson. But here's the thing. To really get this story, we're not going to start back in the past. We're actually starting right now with a modern-day campaign that shows you just how deep this legacy still runs. Right now, fans are raising money to put a statue of Sergeant Wilco in bronze right outside Ellen Road. It just shows you this is a bond that time hasn't weakened one bit. A manager whose impact went so much further than just the pitch. And the campaign itself puts it perfectly. This isn't just about a monument of a man. No, it's about cementing the story of a guy who didn't just win a title for Leeds. He completely revolutionized the club and basically set a brand new standard for what it meant to be a professional footballer in England.
So, that's the big question, isn't it? What was so special about Howard Wilkinson? What did he do? Well, to understand that, we have to go back in time to a club that was, frankly, on its knees.
So let's just set the scene. Before Wilkinson showed up, Leeds were stuck in what a lot of people called the dark years. It was a period of just drifting, a long way from the glory days of the past. And this really just shows you the sheer size of the mountain he had to climb. When Wilkinson walked in the door in October '88, Leeds were sitting 21st in the second division. They were staring into the abyss. So he wasn't just hired to manage a team. He was there to rebuild the entire culture of the football club, from the ground up. And he did it with what one of his players, Neil Aspin, called a complete shock to the system. The changes were immediate, and they were absolute. The casual five-a-side games, gone. Those pre-training sausage sandwiches, banned. Training got longer, way more detailed, and things like structured cooldowns were brought in. Stuff we just take for granted now, but back then it was absolutely revolutionary. All of this came from one simple, powerful philosophy he drilled into every single player. We, not me. Wilkinson's genius was getting every individual to understand that their own ambition was only useful if it made the whole team stronger. And that forged a bond that was just unbreakable. So, with this new culture locked in, Wilkinson started putting together the pieces of a team that was destined to make history. And the rise was, well, it was meteoric. I mean, just look at this. From the edge of the third tier in '88, they were second division champions by 1990. Then they finished fourth in their very first season back in the top flight. And by 1992, they were champions of England. It's a truly breathtaking climb. Now, the engine room, the absolute heart of that team, was a midfield that people still say is one of the greatest of all time. I mean, you had everything. Gordon Strachan, he was the brain, the captain, the leader on the pitch. You had the ferocious, homegrown grit of David Batty, the muscle, then the just sublime class of Gary McAllister, and the tireless, marauding runs from Gary Speed, the heart. It was just a perfect mix of brain, brawn, class, and heart. All of this incredible work, the cultural revolution, the smart team building, it all led to that unforgettable 1991-92 season, a campaign that, for Leeds fans, will simply never, ever be forgotten. It pretty much boiled down to a two-horse race against their bitter rivals, Manchester United, who were led by a certain Alex Ferguson. And as the pressure cranked up in those final weeks, it was actually Ferguson's team that blinked first. They lost 3 huge games in a row, while Leeds just held their nerve. And they did it. They climbed the mountain. They became champions of England for the 3rd time in the club's history. The ultimate prize won through sheer belief, discipline, and an incredible force of will. And what makes this victory so unique, so incredibly poignant, is where it sits in time. They were the very last team to lift that old First Division trophy, because the very next season, the Premier League era began. They are frozen in time forever, a symbol of a bygone age. But here's the thing. Wilkinson's impact didn't just stop when that trophy was lifted. In fact, You could make a pretty strong argument that his most profound contribution to Leeds United was only just beginning to take shape. Wilkinson's greatest gift, arguably, was establishing a world-class youth academy at Thorpe Arch. This thing became a conveyor belt of talent, producing future stars like Alan Smith, Jonathan Woodgate, and Paul Robinson. His youth teams even beat Manchester United's famous Class of '92 in the FA Youth Cup final in 1993. You see, he didn't just build a team, he built a future. Which brings us right back to where we started. For today's fans, that 1992 team is so much more than just a trophy in a cabinet. It's a blueprint for success. It's built on structure, on unity, and on this relentless belief that if you have the right plan and the right leader, anything is possible. It's a spirit that every Leeds team since has been measured against.